Hey, how are you? My name is Ben, and I am a movie buff. Today, I'm joined by my wife, Kayla. Kayla, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
We're here to talk about our favorite animated movies. Incredibles 2 is coming to theaters very soon, and it being an animated movie that everyone's very excited for, I thought it'd be fun for the two of us to talk about our favorite animated movies. If we talked about all of our favorite animated movies, we'd be here for a few hours, so we've taken a select bunch, and those are the ones that we're going to present to you today. So, without further ado, let's do this. Alright, so Kayla, give us an animated movie that you love.
Well, I thought first about talking of a classic animated film. Disney has a lot of films that come to mind when I think about classic animation. But I wanted to talk about one that wasn't as frequently mentioned. One that I wanted to mention, that I'm going to mention, I should say, is Robin Hood, which Disney's version is an anthropomorphic telling of Robin Hood, where Robin Hood's character is a fox, and so is Maid Marian, and you have all the different critters. And I just found it such a charming movie because I really liked animals as a kid. I guess I liked Beatrix Potter, I liked C.S. Lewis, so this movie I found just really charming. I liked all the characters and their interactions. I love the family of bunnies. The music's really catchy. A lot of the jokes are really cheesy, but they're a lot of fun. And I found that it's also an animated movie, though, that's still, there are just these moments where things get really serious, too, and intense. And so I find it's a well-balanced film.
Yep. I have a lot of Disney animated movies that I love, and the one that I'm going to bring up is not my favorite, but it is one that I saw, I'm pretty sure in the last 10 years, and it's become one of my recent favorites, one that I just really enjoy and I'm blown away by, and that is Tangled. Tangled is such a great blend of old-fashioned Disney, but it also feels modern, it feels current and hip and all that. It has a good soundtrack, but for me, I think one of the great things about it is how funny it is. So when I first saw it, I watched it by myself. I didn't have a crowd of people where the laughter was infectious. I sat down in my dorm room in university and watched it by myself. It is hilarious. There are so many great jokes they come up with, like the people messing up Flynn Rider's nose on the Wanted posters. Pascal has a lot of great moments. Maximus has a lot of great moments, like the one where Rapunzel is kind of petting Maximus, and he starts acting like a dog, and his tail starts wagging like this, like a dog would. They come up with a lot of funny ideas, and there's a funny moment that you really like from the movie. Which one is it again?
My favorite is when Flynn and Maximus are dueling, and
with swords, both
No, one has the Flynn has the frying pan, and and Maximus has a sword, and they're fighting, and Flynn's like, "You should know this is the strangest thing I've ever done."
They come up with a lot of really great ideas. It is a really funny movie. So give us another one, Kayla.
So another one, I thought we should at least mention a Pixar film, because Pixar has done phenomenal work. They always seem to have really great ideas, but the one that sticks out to me most is Monsters, Inc.
Yes.
Monsters, Inc. is just so creative. You got this whole other world where the monsters are, and the concept of why they scare kids is really fascinating. Just how that works and what happens when you have a child enter into their world and the repercussions of that.
Yes.
And I also just think that it's a great buddy movie between Sully and Mike. But it's a hilarious and creative, but also just heartwarming movie. In the end.
It absolutely is. It's the whole package. It is creative, and one of the great examples of creativity in that movie is the finale, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but just in the event that you haven't, I love the finale. I love the chase that happens, where it happens, and the complexities of that. If I have to bring up my favorite animated Pixar movie, it's got to be Toy Story 2. And I guess I saw it just at the right time because I was blown away by the first one. But then when I saw the second one, it was that rare feeling of, wow, I get to revisit this world again. I love the characters. The story's still really interesting. The ways they build on to the first Toy Story are awesome, and it's that perfect blend of, remember everything you liked about the first movie? Well, we're going to do that, but we're not going to do the exact same thing. We're going to, they want same but different, right? And everything they come up with is great. There are a lot of great ideas. Some of the characters that you might not know that much about in the first movie, you will learn more about in the second one. You meet a lot of new, interesting characters. One of them has a sad backstory that we get to learn about in the second half of the movie. And on top of just being entertaining and funny and just the whole package, it also, towards the end, when you kind of realize, like, what's the point of this? What's the moral to the story? There's actually, like, a really interesting philosophical idea that's kind of presented about if you know that you want to be a part of something and you know it's not going to last for much longer, is it worth being a part of it, or is it worth just distancing yourself already?
To take a break from the Disney train, because
Yeah.
Disney, it's good for me to talk about a princess movie that isn't a Disney movie, and
Right.
that is Anastasia.
Yeah.
Anastasia, and this is a spoiler warning, it's a fictional movie about Anastasia Romanoff. And the movie was made in a time where they didn't have a conclusive results on the whereabouts of Anastasia Romanoff's body.
Right.
So this movie is about, well, what if Anastasia Romanoff escaped?
And yeah, didn't die at such a young age.
And didn't die at such a young age.
Right.
And so we meet up with her. She has amnesia, so she doesn't know she's actually a princess.
Right.
And her name is Anya. And I just found something so alluring about the idea of being a little girl and be like, well, what if I am a princess and I just don't know it? So that was really alluring to me, especially because I have a grandfather from another country. So
Right.
when I was a little girl, I'm like, well, what if I'm actually royalty?
Yeah.
But that was just far-fetched thinking, but it's still fun to think.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I also just really liked how strong of a female character she is. She seemed to be someone, even though she's on this journey about trying to figure out who she is, like trying to find out her past to look to her future, she just seems like such a confident young woman and
Yeah.
very sure of herself in her decisions. And I really like that about her. And the music's also a lot of fun, and the music is still very well known. Like they made this movie actually into a Broadway production
Right.
recently as well. You're really into some of the music in this movie.
I like the Once Upon a December song that happens fairly early on in the movie. It's beautiful to listen to. But I'd have to say that my favorite one is, I think it's called In the Dark of the Night, the one that Christopher Lloyd, who plays the villain,
Rasputin.
that's right, Rasputin, the one that he sings. And it's kind of cool. It kind of has like a rock opera kind of feel to it, like it's big and grandiose, and like you can hear a guitar in there, and it sounds like a rock song. But it's really great. I really like the sound of it.
And how about yourself? What's another one?
Well, funny you should ask. I would have to say the next one I'll bring up is an anime movie that you and I both saw about half a year ago, and it blows me away. Just the more I think about it, the more I love it. Your Name. This is one that I think this is the third time I'm bringing this up on my channel. And it's because it's a fantastic movie. It is so good. One of my regrets is in my Best of 2017 video where I talked about my favorite movies that I watched in the year 2017, I brought up Your Name rated number 6 in my top 10. And I kind of wish I placed it higher. Like, I think it deserved to be maybe at number 2 or maybe at number 3. But it's an incredible movie. It has such beautiful animation, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. It takes such a typical story, and it does something incredible with it. This movie's got it all. It's incredible. It's absolutely worth seeing.
Mm-hmm. So another one that I wanted to bring up is one of my more recent Christmas favorites.
And mine too, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Which one is it?
It's called Arthur Christmas.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that one. Yes, amazing.
Yes,
movie.
with the voice
Fantastic
talents, of Jim Broadbent and James McAvoy,
movie. Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie.
That's right.
Yes.
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye.
Okay.
I really like this movie because it, again, just how creative. It takes the idea of like, well, how does Santa Claus get around the world and visits all the children? And so
Yes.
it's just an interesting take on how it's done and how they modernize Santa Claus and the whole procedure. So that was pretty creative. I also really enjoy Arthur's enthusiasm for the Christmas spirit and how much it means to him and how much this tradition means. And I also really like the family dynamics, and it's definitely a movie about kind of like finding your role in everything. I also really like the comedy.
It is funny.
It is funny. It's not typical comedy that I'm used to. A lot of it gets really sarcastic or just kind of dark at some moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even like, and this isn't, I guess it's not much of a spoiler, but there's one point they're passing through Toronto.
That's right. Yeah.
And the one character says, like, us Clauses always go through Canada. No one lives here, and they're going through Toronto, which is like the biggest city.
Exactly. Yeah. At nighttime, so
At nighttime.
everyone's asleep. But yeah, nobody lives here. I think the best compliment that I can give this movie is I think the middle section of the movie is pretty good, but I think the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes are possibly among the most creative openings and endings to an animated movie, to a movie in general, that I've ever seen before. Like you said, how does Operation Santa take place, and what they came up with in the beginning of the movie. It's funny, it's clever, it's exciting, and you kind of have to watch it a few times in order to catch all the things they do. And then the ending of the movie, what they have to do, like what they're racing against the clock to do, once again is exciting and clever, and most importantly at the very end, it is so emotionally satisfying. Like, I couldn't have thought of a better ending for that movie. I just really thought what needed to be done, they did exactly that, and it was beautiful. And I wouldn't change a thing. The last one I want to bring up is The Iron Giant. And if I remember correctly, you and I we watched The Iron Giant together with a few friends while we were friends before we were dating. And I remember we were trying to figure out, like, oh, what movie should we watch this afternoon? And I was like, hey, we should watch The Iron Giant. And we sat down, we laughed, it got emotional. Like, it was so much fun. The first 3/4 of the movie are really great. But for me, the cherry on top is the last 15 minutes. And for the record, guys, I am going to go into kind of spoiler territory for the ending. Skip ahead if you need to. But for me, the moment that just, because the great thing about the movie is that, like, you get into the story, you get into the characters, you connect with them, and by the end, when the nuclear missile has been launched and it's coming for the town of people, and the Iron Giant decides to go and sacrifice himself for the sake of the people, when he kind of looks at Hogarth and he says, you stay, I go, no following, which is something that Hogarth said to him earlier, like, that gets me every time. But then after that, as he shoots off to sacrifice himself to stop the missile, as he's flying up, like, the music's swelling up, and he's hearing Hogarth's voice saying, you are who you choose to be, which is another thing that Hogarth said earlier on, and the Iron Giant just says, Superman, and closes his eyes and goes right into the missile. It's so emotionally satisfying, and it's kind of riveting too. And remember, like, we're watching, an illusion. We're watching these hand-drawn images, and it is so riveting. And then I also love how minutes later, when you think, like, the Iron Giant died, that the Iron Giant has that beacon at the top of his head that brings all of his body parts back. And then we see, like, the hand, the leg, all these different pieces kind of coming together. And then we come up to, and of course I am getting goosebumps right now just talking about it, we get to the Iron Giant's head, and all the pieces are getting closer, and he opens up his eyes, and he smiles, and we cut. I couldn't have asked for a better finale, a better ending to that movie. Watch The Iron Giant, please, for the love of God. Watch Iron Giant, and also watch the other animated movies that we've mentioned, if there are some that you haven't seen, because we both like to think that we've made some really good choices with our favorite animated movies. So that's everything we have for you today, guys. What are your favorite animated movies? Please share in the comments section below. Kayla, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. And as always, please like, share, and comment on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.